Hey guys, my name is Alex, and normally I just do videos talking about books and reading, particularly about Stephen King, and the same thing goes on the podcast. But given that we are now almost 2 weeks into National Novel Writing Month, I kind of wanted to do a video that is akin to so many of the videos that I'm seeing lately among the participants of NaNoWriMo, because I've been writing for a long time, and I have kind of come up with a system for coming up with a story, engaging the story, and writing it to completion that hope writing it to... Words are my thing. I wanted to share my strategy with you. I wanted to do it quickly. But before we get into that, I think I need to make clear that my approach to crafting a story and then, fleshing it out is rooted in a conviction that you might not share. I very, very strongly believe that the only kind of novel that is really going to work for both the reader and the writer is a novel of sort of personal exploration. And I don't mean navel-gazing and just writing novel after novel about what your brother did to you or how you were neglected. You never achieved this in high school, you never achieved that professionally. That stuff will work its way into whatever you are writing. I believe that in the process of writing a novel, you need to be exploring something that is problematic either within yourself or something external that you kind of can't wrap your head around. And in this book, you're trying to wrestle that idea, that obstacle, that phenomenon into some sort of reconciliation. Maybe it's a spiritual reconciliation or intellectual or emotional, whatever. But I really think that you need to have some skin in the game. And I know that's a very abstract thing. It's like someone telling you to pick yourself up by your bootstraps. It doesn't really seem to mean anything. But this is what I mean by it. And here's my advice for crafting a writing project that you are more likely to finish than a writing project that is simply meant to be expressive or communicative. Imagine a sheet with two columns. The first column is images that are interesting to me. And then the second column is things that really, really stress me out. And a lot of this is going to have to do with the legwork that you are unconsciously doing as a reader. If I'm reading a novel or a book of nonfiction and I come across an image that is very striking or a concept or a fact that I had not known, I will write next to it in the margin, premise. And once I'm done with a book that has really, really engaged me, I will go to my journal and I will write down all of those images or ideas that struck me as a premise for a possible story. And it doesn't have to be like a sort of prepackaged premise. It can just be an image, like for instance, there's an image in a novel of a dance instructor and she is levitating while teaching a class. And for some reason, that image stays with you. You're thinking about it later in the car or in the shower. This image, it's not because it's so imaginative that it's ringing your bell. It's because for something going on in your life, something that you believe in or something you're feeling, that image is working as a metaphor and your subconscious is grabbing onto it and it's saying, this is us right now. This is the situation we are in. Not literally, but we are very much like a dancer levitating. It doesn't have to mean anything to the reader so long as it means something to you. Because if you are working with imagery that means something to you, however obscure and personal, you will bring a special energy to the page. Even if the reader does not have like 100% clear idea of what this image is supposed to mean, if it has been communicated with energy and zeal, they will buy it and they will go along with you. So you're going to have one column with lots of images and ideas that have struck you personally, and they could be totally discordant. Let's say you've got the levitating dancer and then you had a dream where there was a tarantula in a carton of ice cream, and that image is staying with you. And maybe you're talking with a friend and your friend says, oh, I was feeling such spite at the toll booth. But you weren't listening very closely and you misheard her and you're like, there was a white knight at the toll booth? She said spite, you heard knight. It's not the most profoundly Freudian slip in the world. They sound the same, you made a mistake. But there is a chance that that was not an accident. There is a chance that something inside you conjured so readily that image of like a valiant white knight trapped in the drudging bureaucratic process of fucking whatever, interstate traffic. So now you've got 3 images in that one column, and now in your second column is where we're gonna put skin in the game. The second column is the one about things that are really stressing you out, and here is where you're going to write a paragraph or 2, or you can stick with bullet points, but the point is, this is where you're going to write about the very heavy things that are going on in your life. This is theme, and theme is the thing that keeps you up at night. In this second column is where I would encourage you to write really, really heavy, intimate, personal shit that you would not share with anyone in so direct a fashion. If you feel you have addiction issues, if you're still reeling from the trauma of something, in this second column is where you should write about that as nakedly as possible. It can be sentence fragments. No one's going to see it, but you are going to spell out for yourself, here's where I am emotionally, and these are the concerns that preoccupy me. Now what you're going to do in order to come up with your story is you're going to take those 3 images: the levitating dance instructor, the tarantula in a carton of ice cream, and the white knight who is stuck in traffic at a toll booth surrounded by cars, or is he surrounded by other knights? And let's say that the very intimate personal thing that you wrote about in that second column is that you feel very lonely. Well, now let's take these 3 images and create such a story. Weave them together somehow. And maybe it's because there is a copy of Don Quixote on my desk, but let's say that you write a story, a rom-com, about a time-traveling white knight who shows up. Everyone notices him because he's on a fucking horse, but nobody knows anything about him. No one can understand him. And let's say he brings some vestige of magic from his ancient time, and he falls in love with a dance instructor. And the dance instructor gets sort of bewitched by some of that magic and begins to levitate. And maybe there's the thing, and they break up, and then they come back together. But let's say that the reason they fall out of love is because she's going to a big interview at a big studio. It's her dream job, and he accidentally does some magical thing that causes a tarantula to come out of the ice cream carton that she presents to her prospective employer. I don't know. But you see where I'm going. Apart from the very long process of writing a book, there is the even longer process of editing that book, and then, if you should choose to, trying to get it published, or if you indie publish, just trying to engage a readership. You cannot endure those tasks unless you're dealing with subject matter that just consistently enchants you, challenges you too, and upsets you, and just stirs something, and maybe prompts you towards some kind of reconciliation with whatever very, very vital, volatile kernel of your identity off of which you launched this. Anyways, that is my succinct advice for launching into a story that is going to be very interesting for you and interesting for your reader. I am also participating in NaNoWriMo. I'm writing a sort of slim crime novel, but something I should maybe have started with as like a credential. My debut novel, it's called Cuba Fruit. I do have an agent, and we've gone through some edits, and it is now on submission to editors. Don't really know how it's going. I'm kind of keeping my distance. So anyways, that's what I'm up to. I am participating. I'm writing along with you, and if you are embarking on NaNoWriMo, I wish you the best. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you next time.